Well, welcome to today's edition of New Knowledge. We're pleased to present this to you today with our partners here at the Virginia Highlands Small Business Incubator, the Washington County Chamber of Commerce, and the town of Abingdon. Today, our speaker is Caitlin Bayer. She is the Administrative and Program Coordinator at the Virginia Tech Southwest Virginia Center here at the Higher Ed Center. And she works under the supervision of Allison May, the director of that center. So her responsibilities include providing overall support for the program development implementation. And she is here today. She's a recent graduate of the University of Virginia, an Abingdon native, and we're so proud to have her back in the area to give us a talk today about time management skills. So take it away, Caitlin.
Thank you so much, Mark. It's such a pleasure to be here, and I really appreciate everything that you guys do. And now I get to be added to the roster of new knowledge. That's so exciting. So just to get started, I appreciate Mark introducing me. I work here at the Virginia Tech Southwest Center, and let's just go ahead and jump into it and get started. So as the Commonwealth's most comprehensive university and a leading research institution, Virginia Tech offers about 280 undergraduate and graduate degree programs to more than 37,000 undergraduate, graduate, and professional students across the Commonwealth. And it manages a research portfolio of about $556 million. The university fulfills its role as a land-grant institution by fostering a collaborative environment that integrates technology into all disciplines so that the Virginia Tech community can serve as a force for positive change around the Commonwealth. Through experiential learning, future-focused research, and an inclusive, spirited culture, Virginia Tech strives to accomplish the charge of its motto, Ut Prosim, which means that I may serve. Virginia Tech has a 2,600-acre main campus in Blacksburg, Virginia, as some of you guys know, and its significant presence across the Commonwealth, including the Innovation Campus in Nova, the Health Science and Technology Campus in Roanoke, and sites in Newport News and Richmond, educational facilities and research facilities across the state, a study abroad site in Switzerland, and its 1,800-acre agriculture research farm, which is near its main campus. It's really cool. I went there not too long ago, actually. So through Virginia Tech's research outreach and international affairs, we're driven to serve Virginia and engage the world. Under the Office of Engagement within Virginia Tech, we're broken into 7 units. The Catawba Sustainability Center, the Center for Economic and Community Engagement, which was previously the Office of Economic Development, the Center for Organizational and Technological Advancement, the CPE Center, which is the Continuing and Professional Education, Executive Briefing Center in Arlington, Virginia, the TRIO programs, and the Commonwealth campuses, which there's 5, one here in Abingdon, one in Newport News, one at the Reynolds Homestead, Richmond, and Roanoke. So a little bit more about our center here in Abingdon. The Virginia Tech Southwest Center creates opportunities for long-term economic and individual success via continuing education and professional development. Located in the Southwest Virginia Higher Ed Center in Abingdon, right off exit 14, we offer professional development and continuing educational opportunities, graduate level courses, and customized training for corporations and organizations like we're doing with you guys right now. So embodying the Virginia Tech motto, we cultivate community relationships, engage in regional collaboration efforts, and provide exceptional learning experiences to professionals in the region. So if you're ever interested in learning more, please come and visit us. Please come anytime. We love having visitors, or feel free to reach out to myself or Allison, our director. She would absolutely love for you to ask more about what we do. So just an overview of the workshop. We're going to be talking about time management, strategies for success. The reality of today's world is that we have to achieve great results with less time. We're constantly juggling time with quality and cost and trying to do so in an ever-changing environment. With the goal of positive results and high impact, it is critical that we plan, set priorities, and act quickly and decisively, all of which require unparalleled time management. During this workshop, we'll share time management principles and strategies for actual implementation with you. So let's get going. Right now, we'll do some introductions. If you feel comfortable, I'd love if you'd add in the chat your name, what organization you work with, and if you want to share any time management strategies that you like to employ. If you're watching the recording, I'd love if you just take a second to jot down a couple of strategies that you may know of, that you may use, or maybe ones that you know of and you don't like, just to kind of get an idea and refresh your memory of time management. So thank you guys if you did comment. I can't see you right now, but if you did, I greatly appreciate it. That's awesome. And it's totally okay if not. Um, I'll share with me personally, time management has been a tough one. I am a procrastinator, and sometimes I have to share different um, goals and things like that very last minute. So I hear you. Oh, there's Dawn. Thanks, Dawn, for commenting. So nice. Um, But yeah, I was gonna say, I feel like procrastinating is hard, and also, a lot of people who wear different hats in their roles have a hard time with time management, which is totally understandable. And so I'm excited that we get to sit here and kind of have a refresh in our memory of what we can do to make that a little bit easier. So I'm going to talk a little bit about multitasking and the consequences of poor time management, just to get us going. Poor time management can have significant consequences both in personal and professional life. Poor time management can have far reaching consequences that impact various aspects of life, from professional success and personal well being to relationships and overall quality of life. Recognizing the importance of effective time management and taking steps to improve these skills can help mitigate these negative outcomes. Here are some of the key repercussions of poor time management. One is missed deadlines. Failing to manage effectively often leads to missed deadlines. This can harm your reputation at work, damage relationships with colleagues or clients, and result in negative consequences such as lost opportunities or business deals. Another is increased stress. It can lead to elevated stress levels when you consistently struggle to meet deadlines or accomplish tasks on time. Chronic stress can have detrimental effects to our physical and mental health, causing anxiety, burnout, and reduced quality of life. Another is lower productivity. Poor time management often means that you spend more time on less important tasks and less time for critical ones. This can result in reduced overall productivity, as you may find yourself working longer hours to compensate for inefficiency. Another one, number 4, is decreased quality of work. Rushing through tasks or trying to complete multiple tasks simultaneously due to poor time management can lead to a lower quality of work. Errors and oversights become more likely when you're under this time pressure as well. Number 5, procrastination. My fave. Procrastination is a common consequence of poor time management. When you postpone tasks until the last minute, it becomes challenging to produce high quality work, and the stress of impending deadlines can be pretty overwhelming. Impaired decision making. Rush decision making is often a result of poor time management. When you don't allocate enough time to analyze and consider your options, you may make impulsive decisions that you later regret. Another is strained relationships. Number 8 is missed opportunities. This one is particularly sad. Poor time management can lead to missed career opportunities in the professional sphere. For instance, if you're always late for meetings or fail to deliver on projects, you may not be considered for promotions. It also means missed opportunities in your personal life. If you're doing poor time management, it can be hard to compartmentalize time for yourself and make time for friends and family. So lots of missed opportunities with poor time management. Another one is overwhelm and burnout, which we talked about a little bit earlier, and financial consequences. In some cases, poor time management can have financial repercussions. For example, missing bill payments or deadlines for financial transactions can result in late fees, penalties, and even legal problems. Another one is lack of work-life balance. We talked about this with missed opportunities. This is especially true for those who struggle to set boundaries or don't have good strategies for compartmentalizing their tasks. We'll talk more on that in a little bit. The last one is decreased self-esteem. Continuously failing to manage time effectively can harm your self-esteem and self-confidence. You may begin to doubt your abilities and feel a sense of inadequacy. So yeah, one thing that all these consequences of poor time management have in common is the false sense of security or productivity that they provide. In other words, these are the results of what it looks like to be reactive rather than proactive. This is not just true professionally, but personally. And ultimately, the goal in time management is to improve and alleviate your stress and um, prevent a lot of the consequences that are listed here. And I'm sure that you guys can come up with a few more in your own experiences. On the topic of multitasking, the reality of today's world is that we have to achieve great results with less time. We're constantly juggling time with quality and cost, trying to do so in an ever-changing environment. With the goal of positive results and high impact, it's critical that we plan, set priorities, and act quickly and decisively, all of which require unparalleled time management. These days, everyone multitasks without realizing it. You could prepare an essay, listen to music while cooking dinner and responding to messages. But the conveniences of the digital age also have a downside. With more tech, it has turned out to be increasingly challenging not to be present. And there's a lot more opportunities as well to multitask with our phones or whatever we're working with. Most people buy into the myth of achieving more through multitasking and being accessible 24/7. However, how often is this multitasking actually effective? I want to encourage you guys online right now, or if you're watching a recording, just pause and take a few minutes to write down an example of multitasking in your life, both at work and at home. And we'll just take 30 seconds just to do that. Now take a look at these lists that you made. Would it be more effective for you to just do those things one at a time, or do you feel like multitasking actually helps? Definitely take some more time now or later, maybe when we're done, to jot down how more effective time management could help you with your multitasking, or what different things are you constantly choosing to put off as multitasking instead of really taking that time to do one at a time. I'm about to get very neuroscience on you, but don't be fooled. I'm not a neuroscientist. When your brain focuses on something, it activates the prefrontal cortex. The left and right side wrap around the front of your brain, and when you're focused, they work in tandem. However, when multitasking, they attempt to work independently. This means you are switching between either of your prefrontal cortexes and not doing two things simultaneously. The switch takes up microseconds that adds up to several minutes each time you do two things, which can take up to 40% longer to complete the same task that if you were able to do handling them separately. I like that little picture. It's really cute. So the benefits of multitasking. I'm not going to say that there's not benefits to multitasking, and I'm definitely one to do them. It's just more about finding the right way to do it that actually yields the best results. Multitasking helps with better time management. It can increase your productivity. Again, if you do it the right way, it helps with saving money. I need to subscribe to that one for sure. Preventing procrastination is another one, and boosting creativity. So there are definitely benefits to multitasking, and we all do it, and we all have to do it in our jobs. So when all is said and done, multitasking is something we all have to deal with too. Even with the evidence that it can be counterproductive, scheduling and planning several tasks at once is necessary. How and when you multitask depends on the kind of work that you do, but chances are multitasking is a part of your job or day-to-day life already. When executed in the right way, it can be a real asset. However, multitasking requires prioritizing tasks and juggling them while preventing distractions. In other words, using effective time management, which we'll talk about. So this again can be done if you want to pause this recording or live during the session. I wanted to encourage you guys to quickly jot down 10 things you did at work yesterday in no particular order and no comments, just scribble it down or think about it in your head. If you're doing it on paper, on a separate sheet, or in another column, jot down 3 topics that they expect to discuss at a performance review or at a meeting that you have coming up, just whatever you have going on. And just look at how these different things relate to each other and maybe how you could structure and organize those tasks to maybe fit into the obligations and responsibilities that you have coming up. I'm wondering what you noticed. Did you have a light bulb moment in recognizing that we spend a lot of time on the things that have little or no consequence on our performance or have nothing to do with each other? And it's really funny to see how the tasks that we have to complete and how our upcoming things are or are not relative to one another. So even if we feel like we have a task that is really urgent, it may have nothing to do with something coming up. And so if we could just have that moment to really pre-plan and be proactive about what we have going on and all these different tasks, maybe we can make things a little bit simpler. Talking about the principles of time management, we'll start by looking at a few different definitions of what time management really is. I'm going to read a few of these different definitions, and as I am, just pay attention to a few of the words that maybe repeat themselves, and we'll talk about those. So the first is time management is the ability to use one's time effectively or productively, especially at work. Another is the process of organizing and planning how to divide your time between different activities. The third is the practice of using the time that you have available in a useful and effective way. The fourth is the process of deciding on the order in which you will do tasks. And the fifth is efficiently prioritizing your time, enabling you to achieve optimum results. Some of the phrases that stick out to me, like in the first one, is effective and efficient, process and practice, organizing and planning, time and productive. All of these words bleed together. So even if there's different definitions, or maybe you yourself have a different definition of what time management looks like for you, maybe some of these words are consistent with that as well. This is a great quote. Time is the scarcest resource of managers. If it is not managed, nothing else can be managed either. You've heard the expression that time is a commodity, something along the lines that time is our most precious resource, and yet most of us live as if we have all the time in the world. What is time? If you think about time as an actual resource, does it change how you attach value to it? Time is free, but it's also priceless. You can spend it, but you cannot store it. Once you have used it, you can't get it back. Time is a great equalizer. Here is the beauty of the rule. It doesn't matter how rich or successful you are, everyone only gets 168 hours each week. And this graphic shows the rule of 168. You can't buy more time, but you can sell your available hours to someone else. Successful people learn how to manage their time wisely and ignore tasks not contributing towards their goals. This graphic basically shows that each of us have 24 hours a day, 168 hours per week, 8,736 hours a year. And it's basically saying, how are you going to spend your time in each of your buckets? So you have 56 hours for sleep, 56 for work. And what are you going to do with the other 56? Or are they just going to be poured into the other two buckets? This is one of the principles of time management, and the graphic scares me. Another principle is the Pareto principle, or the 80-20 rule. I'm wondering if any of you have heard of it. I think I'd briefly heard of it before, but I'm not positive. The backstory is Vilfredo Pareto was born in Italy in 1848. He would go on to become an important philosopher and economist. Legend has it that one day he noticed that 20% of the pea plants in his garden generated 80% of the healthy peat pod. This observation caused him to think about uneven distribution. He thought about wealth and discovered that 80% of the land in Italy was owned by just 20% of the population. He investigated different industries and found that 80% of production typically came from just 20% of the companies. The generalization became 80% of results will come from just 20% of the action. So you have to determine which 20% of the activities that you're doing will yield 80% of the results, bringing you closer to your goals. In other words, that means that in an 8-hour workday, that means that would mean 1.6 hours would produce your best result. Another principle of time management is Parkinson's law. Parkinson's law is the adage that work will expand to fill the time allotted for its completion. I hadn't heard of this one before, but it definitely is very true for me, even if you don't understand the graphic, because whenever I look at graphs, my eyes go cross. Just hear me out, it's not that hard. Parkinson's law is basically saying that the amount of time that you're assigned to do a particular thing is the amount of time that you're going to use to complete it. So if I have something due in 2 weeks from now, or Allison gives me a paper that she needs me to write in 2 weeks, it's going to take me 2 weeks to assign it. But if she was like, hey, when I need this done tomorrow, then I would be able to get it done tomorrow. It's basically this tricky rule saying that you take X amount of time when you really don't. It goes a lot with procrastination. And one of the solutions for this is to set artificial deadlines for yourself. Sometimes if you're waiting on another team member to provide information relative to a deadline, you can also create an artificial deadline for them if you want to. I do this pretty often with my friends, especially if we have somewhere to be. I definitely do it with my parents for sure, but to be honest, I think it would be fair if a lot of people use it for me. I either am 30 minutes early or 20 minutes late to something. So if people could give me fake deadlines so I could present myself as on time when I'm not, I would greatly appreciate it. And I welcome it. Another principle of time management is the circadian rhythm. Circadian rhythms are physical, mental, and behavioral changes that follow a 24-hour cycle. These natural processes respond primarily to light and dark and affect most living things, including animals and us, plants and microbes. I'll give you just a second to look at this little graphic we have here. The graphic shows, you can see in the top right, that our bodies stop releasing melatonin at around 7 a.m. And our highest alertness is just before noon. It also says that we're supposed to stop consuming caffeine around 5 to 6. One great activity that you can employ is to take a piece of paper and plot your day from waking up to going to sleep in hourly blocks and identify in each hourly block if you're naturally on fire, vibrant, on cruise control at 70%, distracted, slowing down, tired, or hungry. Um, I would say cruise control is a tough one. I feel like I'm doing that more than not. Now look at your time blocks and think about this and maybe link it to this workplace time management. When you're on fire, you should be tackling the big important tasks as you are likely to get it done. And when you're lethargic, you should be doing more of the mundane cruise control things that we talked about. Some of you, if you wanted to, could hold on to a piece of paper, this little piece of paper where you originally wrote these things. Or you could print a copy of this graphic. If you just Google it, look up circadian rhythm, you could find it. And maybe you could use that as a way to plot when you're going to do certain tasks for work. When I did this exercise, I hadn't really taken the time to consider when exactly I do my best. I thought I was more of a night owl, but thinking more complexly, I do get a lot more done at 10 to 11 a.m. Now let's look at some different strategies that we can use to apply these principles. I know that that was a lot, and especially anytime I hear something like Parkinson's law or 80-20 rule, it seems like a lot of different theoretical things or frameworks, but I'm just going to provide a couple of ways that practically these principles were used to apply them into usable strategies that you could use in your own workplace or at home or personally. They're all great. The first one is the daily highlight. This involves selecting one thing as your objective for the day. This goes back to the 80-20 rule that we discussed previously, and it is a great way to begin the day with intention. This practice also helps me to be more of a realist rather than an idealist when it comes to what we are able to complete on our to-do list each day. The strategy appears really simple, but the gratification and result speaks for itself, and it's a great way to prioritize tasks in your busy day to day. This one's a great one for people who maybe don't have a lot of time when they first come into the office to really itemize their day, like maybe we did at the beginning of this workshop. They just need a North Star, if you will, about this day is going to be about this. Like, for example, today I'm doing this. So daily highlight would be time management presentation. It's just a great way if you don't have a lot of time, or maybe there's something that you're worried that you're going to forget. Just highlighting that at the beginning of your day is a great way to do that. Another one is a to-do list. This is great if you have some more time, or if you wanted to plan ahead of time, maybe before you leave work today for your workday tomorrow. You could go ahead and make a to-do list for yourself tomorrow. Some of the best practices for to-do lists is first to capture everything. It's better to write something down and mark it as complete later than to forget what you wanted to do in the first place. I also just love checking off a box. It makes me feel like I really accomplished something, and you get that dopamine that you want, that gratification that you completed something today. Another one is making your items actionable. So your to-do list is not just a place to store thoughts or goals. Those details are really important, and it's great to take time to reflect on them. But if you compound everything in one place, you're going to get overwhelmed and you're not going to want to look at that to-do list. So it's great to make your items actionable. Going Continuing on that thought, using verbs first and details later, in addition to making sure every task is actionable, maybe consider starting most to-do titles off with a verb, like exactly what you need to do. While this isn't a make or break rule, it can just kind of help you get going, especially if you're on autopilot mode and you're just like, send email. Just send email. It'll help me get going. The next one is breaking bigger work into smaller tasks. One of the biggest struggles with accurately hitting your to-dos is seeing something that's due tomorrow, but then realizing, wait, this is actually a week's worth of work. So if you frequently run into this problem, consider breaking work into smaller tasks. Maybe your work isn't due until Friday, but it's a big task that's going to take a really long time to complete. And so having this work itemized is great. And it also goes back to what we talked about earlier. If you just have more tasks compartmentalized, it doesn't feel so overwhelming. Lastly, I would encourage you to celebrate your progress. Every time you check something off of your to-do list, you've accomplished something. That's a really big deal. And so you should celebrate even if it's only something small. This one's one of my favorites, and I utilize it a lot. This is time blocking. Not only is it great for setting artificial deadlines, but it's also good for compartmentalizing your responsibilities and ensuring a good work-life balance. Time blocking is basically when you block out chunks of time in your calendar to focus on specific tasks. It works really well for people whose calendars drive their day. And this can be done online. We'll talk about a few different interfaces in a second that you can use for time blocking, but there's so many printable daily or weekly calendars that itemize things by the hour where you can just put that time in. And sometimes I like that better because I want to carry it with me or be able to share it with somebody else. And people don't always like to be sent a whole Calendly link or, you know, just getting overwhelmed with emails. They may like it if you just give them a little piece of paper. It's also great for people who wear a lot of different hats at their job or for those who struggle to communicate to others what they have going on in the week ahead. One of the interfaces that I wanted to talk about for time blocking is Google Calendar. It's really user-friendly. The interface allows you to personalize the colors of the cells and add or remove different calendars based on personal and work experiences. I like this calendar and I think it's good because of the add or remove function of the calendar. If I have multiple projects or choose to integrate my personal calendar with my work calendar so I don't have to go back and forth, I have the option to just check off a box and remove it temporarily or focus on just one thing. You can also integrate your task list into the calendar and mark it as complete just as you would on paper. You can also set reminder notifications about different appointments that you have or places that you need to be. Or maybe just if you have something coming up, you can be like, remind me 20 minutes in advance so I'll leave and allocate time for transportation. I really like this calendar. Specifically the add or the remove function I think is great. I always have my calendar up on one of my screens at work with whatever we have going on, and I time block our appointments for that day or maybe what I want to work on from my original to-do list. And something great to do with that add or remove function, I can just go ahead and click off my personal calendar so I'm not worrying about what I have to do later. Or I work for Virginia Tech, but my master's degree I'm getting right now online is with Tennessee. And so I'll just check off the Tennessee Vols thing and just not look at it because school is from 6 to 12, not 9 to 5. Another great one is Outlook. It does a lot of similar things. I really appreciate how this one in particular is stored on the same application as your email. This is helpful because as appointment invitations are sent to your inbox, you can add it to the calendar more efficiently. Google also includes this feature, but it's not as good. I don't like how it looks. And if you're really particular like me, you just don't like looking at it that way. Both options are great. Another one is Notion Labs. If you really like customizing things or if you're nerdy and you like coding your own different systems, that one's super fun. My recommendation is to take advantage of whichever software your organization uses or your business uses. That way you can communicate more efficiently with your peers and your superiors and whatnot. It's really helpful and I enjoy it. But also I want to reiterate that paper version for time blocking is great too. It doesn't have to be so complicated. I think online it's great because you can set up a system, but it's just as easy to do it on paper and just as effective on paper. And you do not need to do it online. Another great strategy for time management is automatic scheduling. This little screenshot here is of a platform called Calendly. It's a scheduling automation platform for eliminating the back and forth email sent trying to find meeting times. It allows you to set available office hours in advance. All you have to do is send a link to your Calendly, and people select the time that works best for you. So if I was going to make a meeting with Mark, I could even go to the footer of his email, or I could ask him for his Calendly, and then I would just select the day and time that I want, and it will automatically email Mark and say, Caitlin scheduled a meeting with you. And it'll show up on whatever calendar that he likes and automatically time block it for him, which is really cool. I really like it, and I think technology can be really impactful by helping to more efficiently manage time. This can be added to an email footer, as I said previously, and that's great because then you don't have to go back to that link and send it to people every time. And maybe you have multiple Calendly accounts if you're really busy and have a lot going on and you don't want to mix those up. One thing I would definitely recommend you not do, however, is offer all of your available time slots all at once. Because as you know, we all want the same convenient 12 p.m. time or right after lunch, or maybe are more available on specific days. We'll talk about artificial deadlines, another time management strategy that we talked about earlier. This is that graphic again, the scary one about Parkinson's law, but it does a great job explaining the actual framework. Artificial deadlines shorten this time span to make yourself work more efficiently. For example, if I know that I need to draft a presentation and have a whole day to complete the task, it would be better to assign a more realistic and achievable deadline, like 3 hours, for an initial draft. Then maybe a day or two will go by and I'll review it or edit it. This is another great strategy. I titled it important or urgent. This strategy involves setting tasks as important and urgent with the Eisenhower matrix. So the Eisenhower matrix helps you think about your workload and priorities and to determine which tasks are important so that you do not just focus on the ones that are urgent. This matrix gets you to prioritize your daily task according to their level of importance. You just need to ask yourself, will completing this task help me to achieve my goals versus urgency? Does this task require my immediate attention? This confused me at first. It reminds me of, which is funny we're talking about this, it reminds me a lot of those graphs that we used to do in biology where you do the different chemical compounds, and I looked at it, and again, I'm not a graph person and was confused. So let's just look at it for a second. It allows you to decide which tasks are urgent, not urgent, which ones you should schedule, maybe delegate to somebody else, or ones that you can just get rid of. When we know which tasks are our priority, we can shift from what might feel like putting out fires to actively scheduling and planning how we must effectively spend our day. I would definitely encourage you all to take a second and try to complete this matrix on a piece of paper, or maybe work on it later to end your workday or plan for the workday ahead. This is a good time too to look at that list that we plotted earlier of a few things that we have to do instead of just running through your brain again of the ones that we already did. You can just go ahead and take that initial list and just plop those different tasks into those different things. I would definitely too. We were talking about printing out the circadian rhythm. You could also print this out and just have it as something, a daily ritual that you do or a weekly ritual. Again, I think I talked about this in the beginning. It's really just about finding what works for you as far as time management goes. Like, I personally don't use all of these strategies. I found a few that work really well for me. And I think everybody's brain is different. I love time blocking. It works really well for me. Another great time blocking thing to use is called the Pomodoro timer. And essentially what it is you set a timer for about 25 to 40 minutes, depending on your own attention span. Simply work, putting your phone away, blocking out distractions and just working. And then you provide yourself with a 10-minute break and you alternate those things over and over. This is really great for work. And in that 10 minutes, you can go use the restroom or stand up and stretch, or maybe just go get a sip of water and just take a break. And this just allows for a rhythm. And it really helps you. And I think it's great to put that on top of um, the circadian rhythm little time blocking thing that we looked at earlier. So again, just looking at all these different things, considering what works best for you and your brain, definitely is what I would encourage you to do. Okay, so after you drew that on a piece of paper, and after we took a minute to just study that little graph, you can see how seeing it laid out, some of the areas where you can delegate, get straight to work, or eliminate the task completely. This is helpful in pruning out or weeding out unnecessary tasks that you hadn't taken time to think about before. So let's just review some of these strategies that we talked about. The first one was the daily highlight. Every day, selecting one thing as your objective for the day. This goes back to the 80-20 principle that we talked about. Another was keeping a to-do list and making it actionable, using verbs first, itemizing more difficult tasks, and even maybe selecting like a time estimate on those, since it's meant to really help us figure out how much time something will take. Breaking it down can be really helpful. Another one was time blocking. Another was setting artificial deadlines. That went with Parkinson's law. It explained that work expands to fill time, shortening your timelines and setting shorter deadlines. Another was automatic scheduling with Calendly. And I should share too, there's probably a lot of different other platforms that you can use as well. And I know that there's another platform where you can simply allow somebody to select the times that they want without actually creating a Zoom link and creating that meeting and putting it in your calendar. It gives you a moment to review. And I'm sure Calendly has that option too, where you approve or confirm that time. Another one is delineating between important versus urgent. This allows you to determine your priorities using that Eisenhower matrix. And the last one is SMART goals. I didn't have a slide for this one, but SMART is an acronym that stands for specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time bound. This is great just to consider when you're doing all of these other strategies, just delineating between what needs to be done. I have a video, but we may save it for another time. It was just a cute little graphic of what we talked about with the Eisenhower matrix. So, as far as this week, I would definitely encourage you guys to review the 6 time management strategies and figure out which ones work best for you. Maybe spending time this afternoon to just to look at that before work or after work, to help you in planning your time for the remainder of the week. Also, this is great. These strategies are really cool to bring to your different maybe subordinates or your peers, or maybe suggest them at your next meeting, things that you all can collectively do together to help promote efficiency. And again, I just want to stress that the point of all of these strategies is not to employ all of them. It's just to consider what works best for you and for your group, and figure out what the best way to accomplish things are. And also what we talked about earlier before we talked about multitasking, the point of all of this is to create more time in those buckets, that 168 rule, for us to have our time that's personal to us, our work time, and all of those good things, getting an appropriate amount of sleep. All of these things are so important for allowing us to have a great work-life balance and compartmentalize all these different responsibilities. I know that some of these in particular, I would probably most highlight the one with time blocking, setting artificial deadlines, automatic scheduling. These are great for people who wear multiple hats, people who are in school and in work, or fulfill different roles within their own jobs. Or it's even good for if you have kids. I mean, in my experience, I don't have kids, but in my experience, my parents really did a great job of kind of setting a schedule for me and whatever we have going on, and all of us, to create optimal time to spend with each other. And so I definitely just consider your own personal circumstances and what works best for you. And yeah. So lastly, I want to say that practice makes perfect. And it's totally okay to start over or catch up if you fall behind. Just be patient with yourself as you're trying these different things and feel free, of course, to modify them for what works best for you. I mean, some people work better on paper, some people are completely digital, some are like me and they're a weird in between. So just, do what's best for you. And so much of it is just playing around with all these different ideas and seeing which one is the most optimizes the most productivity, really. And not all of them are going to work for everybody. Um, let's see, I was gonna say one more thing. Oh, I was gonna say that setting artificial deadlines is also good for us and for other people, and employing that in both work and personal life is great. So that's actually all that I have for you guys, and I really appreciate your time. And I want to open up the floor for questions or any sort of discussion. Please feel free to reach out to me. I can share my email in the chat if you want to come and visit us or if you have any particular questions. So just wanted to open up the floor for you all.
Caitlin Bayer at vt.edu.
Yes. Thank you, Dawn. Dawn loves the chat, and I'm so glad she does.
There you go.
Also, you all, please do not hesitate to reach out if you want to come and visit the center or talk to myself or my director, Allison, about the things that we're doing here, or if you have any sort of ideas on ways to collaborate or just want to hear more about what we do. We love having people come. A lot of people weren't aware that we were here. I'm one of them, actually. And I'm so glad that we are. And I just love Virginia Tech, and I think that it does a really great job of reaching out to our area specifically. That's something that I wish that I had had during my undergrad, was a way to collaborate more with the region that I'm from and that I came from. And Virginia Tech makes that such a huge priority, and I'm really appreciative of it. So, yeah,
Great
Great
presentation.
resource.
thank you. I appreciate it. It was so nice to talk to you guys, and I hope it was helpful.
It was helpful. It's something that all of us have to do. It's I know a lot of people that are busy. They can be busy all the time, just answering emails and doing the now, but they struggle to realize what's important and what are the major tasks that they have to get done all the time. And as an attorney, I've had to do that and learn to be flexible and
Right.
learn to carve out some time so you can prioritize and get done what you have to do without a lot of distractions. So all
Yeah,
this is helpful information for sure. So it avoids, if you can plan up front, it avoids frustration and mistakes down the line. That's for sure. So,
absolutely. Yeah. If you're like
well,
me, my
very.
brain needs some structure.
Yes, very good. Well, Caitlin Bayer at the Virginia Tech Southwest Center at the Higher Education Center in Abingdon. We appreciate your time and efforts today. We want to thank again our partners, the town of Abingdon, Washington County Chamber of Commerce, and all of us here at the Virginia Highlands Small Business Incubator for putting on this new knowledge today. Our next new knowledge will be on May 7th, when we will be discussing setting up a LinkedIn business profile with Cindy Hagman. So looking forward to that. Look for the registration for that. We'll be posting this video for those of you that may have had questions later. You can certainly look back at this video as well as others on our YouTube channel at Virginia Highlands Small Business Incubator. If there's no other questions, we appreciate it. Thank you so much, Caitlin, and everybody have a good day.
Yeah, thank you guys so much. Have a good afternoon.